You're listening to the Weekly Wrap-Up on Sprott Money News.
Well, greetings once again from Sprott Money News and SprottMoney.com. It's Friday, October 25th, 2019, and this is your Weekly Wrap-Up. I'm your host, Craig Hemke, and joining us again this week is the latest inductee into the Canadian Investment Hall of Fame, Eric Sprott himself. Mr. Inductee, how are you today?
Well, you know, Craig, what can I tell you? I just woke up. It was a long night, and I have no idea what's happening today. So I'm going to follow your lead, okay?
Okay. Well, that ought to be. Then you don't know that we're up nearly 50 cents in silver.
No! Are you kidding?
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, I ain't lying.
That 50 cents?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's crazy. I can go back to bed then. Okay.
That's right. You can just take the rest of the day off, my friend. Well, hold on. You can't do that yet. We've got to do our call. So before we get started, hey, by the way, I know you were celebrating last night. Did you know that this is actually Diwali weekend again?
I did know it was Diwali weekend. I don't know why I knew it was Diwali weekend. That's about the only thing I do know today.
That's about right. Wasn't it just like a couple of weeks ago we were using that as a promo, Eric? And now all of a sudden I don't know where the time goes, my friend. But it is Diwali weekend. And that's obviously a big holiday that a lot of folks observe. And it's also a very good time to buy gold. So you can take advantage of our Sprott Autumn Sale by visiting the deals page on SprottMoney.com. Now, when you get there, you can buy a 40th anniversary gold maple coin. You may recall, Eric, we talked about that last week. It's from the Royal Canadian Mint. It's their anniversary coin. And if you do, what do you get, Eric? Do you remember this from last week?
You get, I think, a gold wafer.
You get some of Eric's gold. Yeah, exactly right. So go to SprottMoney.com, buy yourself in honor of Diwali, a 40th anniversary gold maple. Enter the coupon code WAFER, W-A-F-E-R, at checkout, and we'll send you a little slice of Eric's gold pile in the form of a gold wafer when you do. Go to SprottMoney.com or call us at 888-861-0775. Eric, let's dig in, my friend. Not only is silver up nearly 3%, gold's broken out of its range. It's above its 50-day moving average, and it's up $10 at $15.15. We're off to a good start.
Come on! You're kidding.
No, God. Can you believe it?
What a great day. Why was I sleeping all this time?
Maybe you should sleep in every day. You are retired after all.
Yeah, maybe that's the right idea, right?
Yeah. The bankers figured, well, Eric's not here to anger, so let's just take the day off. Could be. But we're looking, Eric, what do you think of this? It almost appears, because there's not a lot of news today, it almost appears that after going sideways through this whole liquidity repo crisis for the last 3 weeks, and we're all scratching our heads going, how come gold doesn't respond? It's like all of a sudden gold and silver just woke up, just like you did.
Well, I mean, I can't believe that where the prices are. I mean, you're telling me that silver's up almost 50 cents? 50 cents? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, well above
That's
18.
Crazy. Wow. But, it kind of had to happen, right? I mean, we know that the central banks are, quite frankly, seemingly in a quandary here, okay? I don't think they know what the hell they're going to do next, because whatever they're doing has not worked. We can use the Japanese example of that, where, it's been going nowhere for 30 years of printing money, and now we got the ECB doing the same, and they're in the tank, and we got the Fed's trying to crank things up, and it looks like we're in the tank here in North America. And I go back to the same thing I've said before. I just think it's the massive understatement of inflation that people have to pay way more than is being discussed, but they're not getting the wage increase, okay? Because the mantra is, inflation is less than 2. You get a wage increase of 2, but inflation isn't 2. It's ridiculous. In fact, when I was at that function last night, the guy wrote an op-ed piece about how the cost of acquiring exchange information, stock exchange information, the cost of getting the information has gone up 11% for 10 years in a row. 10 years in a row, 11%. Like, come on. And that's just one example, whether it's utility bills or real estate taxes or Medicare, whatever. I mean, who's kidding who that we have 2% inflation? That's a joke. So the average guy is just getting ground down here and is showing up in negative retail sales in Canada, negative retail sales in the States. It's just going to keep going, I think. The inflation's eating away at people.
It's also why you and I have discussed for years that interest rates can't go back up. I mean, the Fed drained the money supply. They tried to run interest rates up to service both the public and private debt became impossible, and the economy rolled over. And this wasn't complicated. You can see this coming.
Yeah, no, it's and they know. I think they now know it's not working.
Right.
Didn't I read that Mervyn King said the central bank should get a meeting behind closed doors, where we're all going to figure out how to solve this problem, because obviously they don't have the solution to the problem. Yeah, and they're not going to have the solution to the problem because they are the problem.
We should quote him, Eric, because if people missed that this week, it was an article in The Guardian. Mervyn King is the former head of the Bank of England, just like Ben Bernanke is the former head of the Fed. They had their jobs at the same time. Let me give you one other quote Mervyn King said, Eric, because you might have missed this. His actual quote was, by sticking to the new orthodoxy of monetary policy, whatever that is, and, catch this, pretending that we have made the banking system safe. Pretending.
Yeah. We've known, Craig, you and I have known that all along, okay?
Yeah. How many times have we called them zombies, Walking Dead, all that stuff? And here's the former head of the Bank of England. Can you imagine if Bernanke had said that?
Yeah. Pretending that we made the banking system safe. And here we go. So let's talk about repo.
Yeah.
That's one thing I can remember this morning.
Well, let's talk about that. All right, so here's the thing. Let me frame it this way for you, Eric, because we've got another FOMC coming up next week, right? Yep. And Chairman Powell's going to have his press conference. Maybe you and I can get a press pass because somebody's got to ask him and say, hey, look, Chairman Powell, 6 weeks ago, everything was fine, right? You were at a neutral rate. You were going to be data dependent, all this stuff. And now in under a month, you're all of a sudden monetizing $60 billion a month of debt with this new QE. You've expanded this repo from nothing to $120 billion a day. This looks like it's getting worse, doesn't it?
Yeah. You should ask him, when you get your press pass, ask him, what does not QE mean?
Yeah. Large-scale asset purchase program.
Oh, yeah. Balance sheet expansion or whatever that, or balance sheet diversification or balance sheet whatever. I think that the only thing important about the balance sheet is the B and the S, okay?
Yes,
it's
sir.
BS. And
yes,
I shouldn't
sir.
be talking this way, but, we've had a long night.
Let's look ahead. Next week will bring that FOMC meeting. We'll be getting another employment report in the U.S. And as this is happening, as we pointed out earlier, gold and silver, which have been kind of consolidating for the last month, have broken higher. And they look like they're ready to roll back to at least toward the highs we saw back in early September. You agree with that? You think we're going to have a strong end of the year?
Yeehaw!
I'll call that a yes.
Yubaba. Used that word in a long time. It's kind of we're having a Yubaba moment, when everything is kind of going our way here, and of course it all makes some sense. And we have some interesting stuff going on in the shares too, by the way.
Well, let's go there next.
Let's talk about that.
Before we get to some of the ones that we often discuss and that type of thing, I want to go back to something you told me. This is now 90 days ago, sometime last summer. You said that usually in a new bull market, the first thing that moves are the majors, because if you're making $100 an ounce at $1,300 gold, you're making $300 an ounce at $1,500 gold, and that's going to get reflected in their earnings. Well, the first major to report this was this week. It was Agnico Eagle. And based on this move in the gold price, Eric, I don't know if you saw it, they earned 34 cents a share versus 7 cents same quarter last year.
Yeah, so it went up by, it only went up by 500%.
Yeah, that's all.
Funny thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That. I don't know how people could figure that out, though. That's a tough thing to multiply those numbers out. And not only was it important that they earned the 34 cents, but the stock rocketed. Yeah, the stock's now up about 10% in a week.
Yep.
On of all things, a 34-cent earnings. I mean, it's about a $55 stock US, something like that.
Yep.
70 and 77, I think, in Canada. It's still a big multiple, okay? We're talking like 40 or 50 times earnings. I love the fact that it went up. And what impressed me, or what is going to be interesting for me, is I think Kirkland will earn twice as much per share as Agnico. They'll earn twice as many dollars as Agnico. and it's trading at a price of $61, and Agnico's, I'm talking Canadian now, and Agnico's at 77. But Kirkland is going to make twice as much. So I don't know. There could be some real big moves here, and I would point out to the listeners that Yamana, and I haven't even seen the earnings because I've been sleeping, okay? But if the stock's up 10% because their earnings were great. I don't know even what their earnings were, but
There's
I
another
think
one.
that could happen to some of these stocks here where the earnings come out and maybe it's the computer. The computer says, oh, my God, the stock's cheap, okay? You got to buy it.
Yeah.
And the algos start buying it. So anyway, it's been fantastic.
It has, and I would imagine most majors are going to report pretty good earnings. And I would sure think, gosh, by the time, if the GDX, things like that don't immediately respond, by the time we get around to January and you get another quarter like this, you would sure think the floodgates might open.
Yeah, maybe by the time we get to January and gold's $1,700,
right?
What do we think they're going to earn?
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Exciting.
All right. Well, we are running a little bit late this morning. So for everybody that sent in names this week, we went through them. We don't have a lot that we can talk about with the names that went in here, but we'll take another look next week if we can. But in our remaining time, Eric, there are two companies that we've discussed frequently on these podcasts over the last year or so that had some really interesting drill results this week. One of them was Tudor.
Which ones were those?
Well, Tudor, how about Tudor? Can you talk about that?
Well, yeah, they have, what am I going to call them? They're sort of inside holes, definition holes. They were good holes, but they didn't basically change the dimensions of the deposit because they weren't extending it further out. They were inside holes. They're good. I'm going to be meeting with the management next week, and I'll have more to report then. But I still believe there's going to be a huge deposit proven up there. If we get the right environment in precious metals, which it looks like we might be getting here, people are going to start looking at these things again, and it could be very, very exciting. So, and I'm kind of hoping that they can ultimately prove up like a 20 million ounce deposit there. So these stocks would prove to be very, very inexpensive. Was there something else we should be talking about?
Well, there's a certain company called Wallbridge. I don't know if you've seen anything from them or not, but a lot of folks are wondering what you think.
Which stock?
Wallbridge. You ever heard of that one?
Oh, yeah, Wallbridge. Yeah.
They
did come out with something, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What did they come out with? They came out with 38 meters of 27 grams.
Yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it? From what I hear.
I'm sitting here in downtown Toronto looking across the street and thinking, that might be 38 meters across the street over there. Oh, my God, that's a big distance. And almost an ounce a ton. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah.
And the suggestion that they have other intersections that are also very wide. This is all down at about 500 and 600 meters. Oh, my God, what could be happening here?
Yeah.
This could be dramatic. This could be very, 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 very dramatic. You don't need too many holes like that. And by the way, this hole is on there's a 1,000-kilometer strike length to the Tabasco zone. And now they're drilling down at 600 meters and 500 meters and finding these huge intersections. Well, if this thing ever went the whole kilometer at depth with those kind of intersections, it would be one of the great deposits in the world, okay? That's probably the way to live. One of the great deposits in the world. Yeah, they did these presentations in Montreal on Wednesday and Thursday. I haven't not seen the videos. They might be out, but as you know, I've been sort of preoccupied here overnight. So I've done nothing today other than look at the price of silver going up 44 cents, which is pretty exciting. And I hope that, that people understand the true significance of what might be evolving here, because I think it could be a very large deposit. I said before that I was hoping it could be Detour Lake, right? Detour Lake is 20 million ounces. And you know what? It's looking better than Detour Lake now. So, they got these wonderful, wonderful grades. And when they're in the area called the Abitibi, there are mines up there that go down 4 kilometers.
Wow.
We're only at 500 and 600 meters so far. So goodness knows what we have there. But it is very exciting. The stocks reacted well here. I think there's going to be lots of strategic interest in Wallbridge. So hang in there.
Do you think a company like that, in your experience, Eric, is that a company that ultimately puts itself into production, or is that a company that gets, taken out?
I would believe it will get taken out. Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're talking, maybe it's $1 billion development here, and a major would want to own that property, and we'll pay a good price for it, and we'll be able to fund it. So I would not think that they will be the people who bring it into production.
Yeah, that sounds like it's one of those. But again, obviously, unbelievably great numbers. Holy cow. That is really something else. All right, well, my friend, why don't we call it a day? I would encourage you to get yourself a nap later today, perhaps. And
yeah. Yeah, it was a long night, Craig. I'm sorry that our broadcast was a little delayed here probably because I was sleeping. Anyway,
Eric,
I apologize for that, but as you pointed out early, maybe I should just go back to bed.
Well, and congratulations. What a great honor. Do you get like a bust like they do in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Is there like a bust of Eric Sprott up there?
No, they give you a bull. They give you a forged bull. So
yours gold.
I didn't lambaste the investment business last night, even though the investment business has a lot to make up for here with all the things the shenanigans that go on in the stock markets. But that's for another day.
That's for another day, my friend. All right. Well, we're going to have a very interesting week next week, no doubt about it. We're going to have a lot to talk about next Friday, and so I'll look forward to visiting with you then. In the meantime, everybody listening, I strongly encourage you to go to sprottmoney.com. Click on the Insights tab on that page, and you'll get a link to our Ask the Expert series, where just posted today was an interview I conducted a couple days ago with author and journalist Nomi Prinz. Great stuff. Yeah, Eric, you're going to want to listen to it too. She did a great job. Really, really interesting. I encourage everybody to go there and check it out. And of course, click the Deals tab and get some of Eric's gold by entering the coupon code WAFER if you buy one of those 40th anniversary gold maples. Eric, have a great weekend, my friend.
Hey, Craig, you have a good one too. I'm really looking forward to next week.
Should be a lot of fun. And from all of us here at Sprott Money News and SprottMoney.com, thank you for listening. Have a great weekend.